Welcome everyone. I
Thank
will,
you.
Vijay ma'am, you can share your screen. I'll just introduce you. I won't take much of your time and you can start. Once you share the screen, I'll just introduce you and you take over. Perfect.
Okay,
Colleagues,
can
I
you see me
request
now?
you to please mute yourselves. I can
Are
see your
you
screens.
full screen, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, full screen. No problem. Okay, so a warm welcome and a very good evening to everyone. It's our privilege to welcome Vijay ma'am, Head of Global Finance Operations India at Valmet, a distinguished professional with over 30 years of experience in global capability centers. Known for her passion, self motivation, commitment to excellence, and she is also a very strong advocate for diversity and inclusions. With her extensive global exposure and leadership in driving transformation, we are delighted to have her share her insights on driving change in GCCs. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for making time for me as usual. You can start, ma'am.
Sure. First of all, good day to all of you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Latika, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. Oneness, I think the Women's Day theme for this International Women's Day theme is like give to gain. And I want to give back to the society. So I take this as an opportunity to share the knowledge which is gained all throughout like 30 years of experience. And let me walk through. Basically, I'm going to define change, why change is inevitable. Then I would discuss a case study and then we would on digital transformation. And that's how I'm gonna, but let me introduce myself. So basically, I'm a constant learner. So let me, so I'm a constant learner and I've like always kept studying. Okay, so graduation, like I was focusing on constant learner. I moved to Europe in 2015. There I did a lot of certifications, Prince 2, GPS certification, Six Sigma Green Belt, Black Belt, PMP certifications, and along with it, Scrum Master I did. Recently, I had the liberty to be under the guidance of Latika ma'am, and I've also done my doctorate in international business management, and I'm awaiting results. That's why I've clearly put pursuing. Why I wanted to brief is like you need to evolve along with the dynamic world needs, basically, and that is kind of a change how you equip yourself to stand as one above the 11. So let me also I've gathered some awards during my tenure. A Smart Change Management Award. I was the Best Shared Services Leader of the Year, like last year, at the UBS Forum. And I'm basically a leader who leads with a mother's cap. Because why a mother's cap? One is a mother has no expectation from anyone. Is 0% expectation, and she wants everybody to be the best. She wants them to, all the kids to grow great places. And that's one of my ambitions. I want to take people along the journey to great places, dream big, achieve big, and explore beyond the imaginary boundary. And by doing this, I would like to leave the footprints in the sands of time. So that's a short introduction about me. Let me move way further to my slides. Just give me a second. Okay. Why is change inevitable? So this is, and we all very well know, change is inevitable. Why? If you do not change, if you do not change, you stay back. I think we would have seen many failures in organizations. Nokia is one of the the best examples, I would say. So I was working in Kone Corporation, and opposite we had Nokia. It's a Finland-based organization, and it was so massive. And we saw it crumbling before our eyes because they were not changing to the technology which was needed. And that's one of the reasons why Nokia failed. And what are the other reasons uh, which leads for GCCs? Why change is inevitable in GCCs? There are many digital disruptions, business expectations are more, cost optimization, risk mitigation, moving from transaction to strategic value creation. Gone are the days where we were looking at transaction processing. The evolution of GCC started off from like back office to shared services to global business services. Now it's evolving into then centers of excellence. Now it's GCCs. And we are moving toward a value driven culture. So for them, change is really inevitable. How do we evolve along the journey? Can we look at the old back office structure? Gone are the days. How can we, and we are now more KPI driven, looking into empowerment. The atmosphere with which we uh, manage our employees, employee engagement, everything is evolving towards the change. Gone are the old ways of handling employees, the mindset, the flexibility. So it's one of the key focus areas. How do we manage change? How do we drive change towards, how do we drive positive change? So that's all is this presentation about. And I'm going to walk you through, but I'm going to give you time to ask more questions because everybody has a different perspective. So even I'm learning in the journey as well. So one of the topics which I've taken here is like digital transformation challenges in GCCs. So if you look at what are the challenges, there are many. Change management is the key. No second thought about it. If you do not have like a structured way of driving change, you are all set to fail. But apart from that, one is managing in silos, then uh, training capabilities, change leadership, digital skill gap, strategy, vision missing. Then, if you do not measure success, it's not about just driving a change. Yes, I want this to happen. Let's say I'm rolling out an ERP. Okay, I roll out, job done. No, that's not what change is about. Change is a constant and continuous improvement journey. So, how do we tackle it? So, this is something which we are going to look in the upcoming slides. So, digital transformations. When I took a survey, when I was looking into data, it was clearly stated like 70% of the digital transformations fail. And one key reason is resistance to change. What are the key factors which are the root cause for resistance to change? Fear of loss, the competence, the mindset of employees. It's like, am I going to lose my importance? What will happen to my competence? Am I going to lose everything? I have gained something over a matter of years. Is that going to be shaken? It's that kind of fear mindset, uncertainty. So, and this is like the mind first looks into the risk perspective. What is going to happen? I have no clarity. Will my job be at stake? There are so many doubts which get into the mind, and that's one of the reasons. Cas, so that is like there might have been cases where uh, uh, transformations has failed. It might be for any other reasons. Okay, this is going to be another failure. That kind of a mindset. And this is one of the reasons like why major 3/4 of the transformation do fail. There are two ways of handling change. One is proactive change implementation. The other is the forced one. Basically, the market pushes you to drive the change. Let's look at proactive change implementation. Yes, it also has a dip because in the initial phases, you get into a learning curve. Everything is going to be new. That's okay because change is for sure is going to get you out of your comfort zone, be it a tool, be it a initiative, ERP, whatever it is. That learning curve will always have a dip. But the dip in the learning curve, or the time taken during that change, is sure to bounce back when we do it proactively because it's only that phase because we are doing it proactively, we are well prepared, and it returns much faster to the equilibrium mode. And the return on investment is high. Whereas if you have been pushed, if you do not work on proactive change, and if you have been forced to manage the change to align to the market conditions, for example, there is GST. There are many changes which has happened in the Indian market due to legal requirements. That short notice we have to get that change rolled out. That's when you have like a big dip, and the return on investment is not as it is in a proactive change. You tend to lose a lot. There is so much stress. There is so much confusion. No one knows. There is so much ambiguity, which adds to it. Employees lose morale. Employee morale goes for a super duper hit. And that's what we really need to understand and work towards. Are we going to work towards a proactive change, or are we going to be forced to drive this change? This is very clear. So here, let's take the same example, 70% fail. But how can this be handled? Clarity and transparency. Basically, when any change happens, there are clear messages which needs to go out. One is, what is changing? Why are we changing? Basically, what's in it for me? You need to identify in an organization, there are different levels in an organization. Not everybody will have the same change impact. So we need to identify what's in it for each one in the transformation, due to the transformation. And let's be very, very transparent about it. That is most, because everybody wants to know what's going to happen. How are we going to handle it? Why should I align to this change? The second positive initiative which you need to drive towards positive changes involving everybody. You shouldn't identify only a small team who can drive the change because it would be, you need to involve the much bigger organization. First, communication and the involvement of everybody. You need to get the buy-in of everybody. And that's one of the reasons for a positive change success story. Psychological safety. There is going to be ambiguity during the journey. No second thought about it. When we are having so much ambiguity, employees should be given that psychological safety where they should be able to open up, ask questions, share feedback, give updates on what the reality is. What are the challenges if we do not let go? That sure is going to close all doors, or the employees are not going to open up. And that also leads to a failure. visible leadership modeling. This is the most important. The leaders need to drive the change. They should be role models leading the change. In case there are, let's say, a ERP rollout, okay? It's not going to be the perfect one from day one. You are sure going to have challenges during the transformation, and the leaders should always look for a problem solving mode. You should not be.
Oh,
Can you please put on mute if you're not talking?
Participants, I request you to kindly mute yourselves. It disturbs the speaker while speaking. Ma'am, I have muted him. And please don't scribble on the screen. Ma'am, I'll clean the screen. Just give me 2 minutes. Ma'am, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. Visible leadership. So, leading by example. So, the leader should promote the change. They should be drive the change, and they should be examples of change. These are the key factors how we can make, like, how we can promote positive change. Let me go into the next slide. Okay. So here we are going to talk about robust change management framework. Let's go into the
Ma'am, just give me a minute. Prenkins, can you please stop scribbling on the screen? I have a guest today. It's not been presented by me. Ma'am, since it's you have the access to share,
yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
able to clean the screen. I'm sorry.
It's okay, ma'am. It's okay. No.
Prenkins, kindly do not do it. We request you. Please, ma'am, continue. Again, Zimba, Aburi Zimba, can you please mute yourself? We have a speaker today. Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay. So here we are going to discuss about a robust change management framework. Let's look at what are the key milestones when we look at a robust change management framework. First is assessment and diagnosis. When we say assessment and diagnosis, here we are not looking at rushing for a change. Let's understand the as-is scenario. Where do we stand as is? Why do we want to change? What is the root cause for the pain points? What are the pains which is there, which is triggering us toward the change? What is the root cause? This assessment and diagnosis will give us a clear picture as to why do we want to change and capture the as-is. The as-is is very important to identify even before we move towards it. This is where we look at the root cause and see how we can fix it. Second is the change planning and execution. Anywhere for that matter, if you do not plan, your execution is sure set to fail. So when we look at change planning, what are we speaking here about? A roadmap, timelines, milestones, and how are we going to execute? So this is where you address like what are we going to change? Why are we changing? When are we going to change? How are we going to change? Who are the stakeholders we are going to look at? So it's clear planning, looking into all these aspects. The third milestone is like basically looking into the stakeholders. Stakeholders are the key, the most important in any change management. If you do not identify the right stakeholders, I'm sure your change is going to be a big failure. Why? There are different stakeholders, people who co-create the change. If you do not identify the stakeholders in the management who needs to support you, co-create along with you, and drive the change, In the initial stage, if you miss them all, in the future, when the actual change is going to be rolled out, you sure will have a lot of challenges and resistance from them. If the key stakeholders are going to be resistant towards change,
Vijay ma'am, sorry, I was muting one participant. He was continuously unmuting him. I muted you also. I just muted all the participants. My apologies. Scholars, please maintain some decorum of the classroom. We are here to listen to her. Please mute yourselves. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Please take it. Please unmute yourself, ma'am. I think one more time.
are you
Yes,
able to
ma'am.
hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Stakeholder engagement and communication. So this is very, very important. You identify the stakeholders. Who are my stakeholders? There would be stakeholders who will be part of the steering committee. Stakeholders who will be driving the change. Stakeholders who will be convincing their team members, cascading the change and leading by example. So stakeholder engagement is very, very important in any change management. And here, when we speak about the stakeholder engagement, you need to keep them constantly updated about like what is the plan, what is happening, and at every point of time, you bring in the stakeholders together and keep them posted as to how are we driving the change, and let's be transparent about it. If something's going wrong, let's be transparent, because end of the day, if something is going to, no surprise is communication. So let's be transparent and let's put forth as to how are we going to tackle those situations. So that's the key to it. So identification of the stakeholders and engagement is very, very key out here. Training and capability building, capability, competency, or capacity, because we are moving from a comfort zone to a new environment, ERP or transformation or a change. For that, you need to have, you're going from a zero level competency to achieve a different level of competency. For that, knowledge transfer, identification of like what is the need, how are you going to build that capability. That structured planning is more important. Who will be? One is, here we are looking at training and capability building. Here, when we look at it, do we have the right resources who can train? Are we imparting the right knowledge? Or are we creating more confusions? The person who can be training should have all the competencies, should be able to manage the change, identify what was there and what is the new state where we are going to move. Will that person have all the capability to bring down the ambiguity in the minds of many? So this is one of the key milestone in the framework. Change leadership and governance. So when we speak about change leadership, as I said, leading by example. It's like top down. If the top management is not aligned to change, rest be assured, the change is for a failure. The top management or the senior management in any organization should be aligned to the change, should own the change, should promote and cascade the change. And that is the key out here. So when we look at change leadership, the change leaders should be, and the change leadership is not only the senior management. You can have many champions all throughout the organization who are promoters. And we should have a clear governance. How are we going to tackle this change? How are we going to monitor? So this is change leadership is very critical, and the senior management of the organization should have 100% consensus and buy-in in this change. The last one, as I said, change is not just tick the box. It's not a one-time exercise. Yes, okay, I've rolled this ERP or I've rolled this application, job done. No, we need to look at constantly monitoring. You will not get the 100% adoption rates on day one. Let's say until now, I have been receiving invoices through email to a shared mailbox. Moving way forward, I'm going to use an application called Basware, for example. Do you think all vendors are going to send those invoices straight from day one to the Basware or the application? No, it will be a phased manner. First, they wouldn't know which email ID. I do not have my invoices are not clear. I'm comfortable sending it to that email ID, which was I've constantly been sending. I'm sure I'll get paid if I send it to that group email ID. These are like mindsets. So 100% you can be rest assured, you will not be able to get 100% adoption from day one. So what does that need? It needs constant monitoring. Where do we stand as against the proposed change? Are we at it 100% or have we come 50% to the change? And is the change what we've rolled out is in line with what we wanted to change? What was the plan? What did we want? What was the success criteria of the change? We need to constantly evaluate and improve. Because 100%, I can tell you with the past experience, I've run about 150 projects all throughout my tenure. There is something or the other which will pose a surprise. You would go in a structured manner, you will plan everything, but there is something or the other which will crop up, which will challenge you. So you need to constantly monitor, evaluate, and it's an evolution, constantly improving. And that's where we would achieve the target of meeting the 100% adoption rates for driving the change. Let me move to the next. Okay. Planning and executing change management strategies. Developing a change management plan. As I said, if we do not have a roadmap, so these are the key criteria where we need to look at when we want to drive a successful transformation. Developing a change management plan, clearly a roadmap, then the milestones, the target dates, then the governance, the teams, all that needs to be planned very well in advance. What is it that we are going to change? From where to where? What's in it for? What is the benefit realization for the change? Will it benefit? Yes or no? And what is the benefit for that? All this is something which we need to make a note of. Implementing a phased approach. A big bang normally doesn't work, okay? Phased approach is the best way to handle a change. You can do a pilot, you can do a phased. Main reason is the risk mitigation is comparatively manageable. Instead of like the whole organization going big bang and everything goes to a stop, there might be some, even though we work on risk mitigation, there might be something which is cropping up. The proof of concept is something which we need to deploy. Maybe we take a pilot, we see, understand roll out the change, identify what are the challenges which we've come across. That would give us like, okay, these are the lessons learned during this pilot. When we roll out, these are the areas where we need to focus and how will it impact the big time. So a phased approach always helps. Third aspect is leverage management tools and techniques. As I said, there are many change management tools like the readiness assessment, stakeholder matrix, stakeholder listing. Then there are different type of stakeholders you manage. There are many tools which would capture the status of the change. Where are we today? Where have we come? These tools will help us give a clarity on where we stand and where we need. It captures the progress. That's most important. To use the tools and techniques to assess the readiness and where do we stand and how are we progressing on the change. Foster a culture of change. This is like nothing to do with the processes or whatever it is. It's the environment. Empowering people, psychological safety. Keep talking about the positive actions about the change, positive results. What are the outcomes? And how can we promote this change culture? Accountability, trust, building trust in the journey, ensuring everybody owns it. Everybody is accountable for the change. And this is a culture which should be cascaded at every level in the organization. We need to keep repeating this change culture all over the organization, and you like promote it on a day in and day out, so that everybody stands aligned to the change. Measure, monitor, and progress, as we discussed in the previous slide. What you measure, you monitor. What you monitor, you improve. Without monitoring, you will never be able to drive improvement. What can you monitor? Only when you capture something, only when you measure something, you can monitor. So KPIs, you have like different ways of measuring and monitoring change. You can define it with KPIs. You can define it with like the employee engagement, the knowledge curve, the competency mapping. These are areas with which how you can measure and monitor progress of the change. Why change is vital in GCCs? Let's touch base on this slide. Innovation and competitive advantages. If you do not align to change, if you do not change, you'll be left out in the market. That's for sure. Your competitors would be moving ahead and you would stay back. So that's very, very important. We need to align to adapt to the market dynamics, see how you can align to the competition and look into creative ways of working, and that's most important. Efficiency and productivity. Gone are the days where, as I said, GCCs are a transaction processing industry. Right now, it's a value-driven industry. Creativeness. Such changes would look at streamlining the process, streamlining the end-to-end process, avoiding redundancies, improving the productivity, which gives more space for creative thinking, value-driven initiatives. So efficiency and productivity is one of the key reasons. Adaptability to market trends. The need of the hour. The world is a dynamic, the world is changing, and if we do not evolve And if we do not change, if we do not adapt to the market trends, we spoke about Nokia, that's one example, GST. There are many legal changes and there are many environmental changes. Sustainability, it's one of the areas where the evolution is happening. Every organization captures sustainability. And if we are going to say, no, I'm not going to capture sustainability, we'll stand out in the market. Enhanced agility. When we speak about enhanced agility, it's about the speed. How fast am I able to change? Do I have the capability to change it much faster based on the need? That's where it keeps me on top. Talent retention and attraction. Where would the talent stay back when they know this organization is changing for good? It's evolving towards a change. That opens the gate for like growth opportunities. An organization which is all focused to grow is all set for the change. This is how you retain talent and attract talent. Cost savings with redundancies and repetition, and once you streamline the process, all inefficiencies are going to vanish. That would result in cost savings. Future proofing. So you are aligning, you're proactively working towards the future. How can you align to the market requirements? We know now AI, excuse me. Please do not scribble. Okay. We know future proofing when we speak about right now what's happening in the global organizations, AI, robotics. And that's area where we need to be proactively. That doesn't mean if your organization doesn't support if your processes are not harmonized, robotics or like automation doesn't work. If you have different ways of managing, first you need to work on like, how can I future proof it? First, let's focus on the harmonization. Based on it, let me open the gates for automation. Else automation or robotics doesn't make sense. Mitigating risk. So change is very critical in not staying back, being proactively moving towards and taking the organization to the much needed environment, identifying what are the risks. If we do not change, how can we mitigate risk? These are the areas where we need to look into why change is really vital for any organization as such. Here, this is one area, here we'll talk about how do we drive effective change. So first is clear objectives. Forget about change. In any plan or any initiative, if you do not have a clear objectives, if you do not have a success criteria, we will not be able to achieve it. So this is clearly, be it as for any other initiative or transformational drive, setting the objective is very, very clear. Where do I stand to where I want to go? Have I defined my success criteria? How am I going to measure my change? Where do I stand from the assets and where do I want to go? Creating a compelling vision. You need to have like, after this change, how do I see myself? That is most important. Will I move towards this when I drive this change? Engaging stakeholders. As I said, identifying stakeholders at every level in the organization, getting the buy-in from the senior management, co-creating the change along with the stakeholders, keeping them constantly engaged, keeping them updated with transparent communication. Where do we stand? That's an important criteria in driving the end-to-end change management. Assess readiness and impact. This is one of the key steps even before we start driving the change. The assess organization. Where am I in the assess? What is the root cause? We will define why we want to change. For that pain point, we need to identify what is the root cause out there and what is the impact which I'm going to create in this change. Comprehensive plan, a detailed roadmap, identifying the roadmap, clearly the milestones, the resources, the training plan, the monitoring mechanism. It should be a comprehensive plan with everything written down in detail. That is the most important thing, because for every milestone, you need to go back and check. Where am I as against the milestone defined? Have I delayed? Am I in line? What are the reasons? How do I work towards it? That's the most important. So we need to have a detailed and comprehensive plan to implement as well as to look back. Training and support, building on the competencies. What is needed? Like if I'm going from this, I'm going to change. How do I develop? How do I equip myself to go there? I'm sure you will have resistance in this organization, because even in our personal life, if we want to change something, we are like resistance. Why should I get off my comfort zone? So resistance is sure going to be there. How do you address resistance? How do you address it positively? That's a clear criteria which we need to look at. Most important thing is we need to celebrate success at every milestone, because that's what motivates people to move towards the next. Celebrating success is one of the key criteria. As I said, monitor progress and adjust. You say adjust, okay, we plan something, there are some surprises. How do we align and adjust and move on to ensure that we drive towards a successful change? Foster a culture of innovation. When we say foster a culture of innovation, is looking for feedbacks. There might be some creative thoughts. When we actually drive the change, it might even open the gates for something new. Let's capture all the feedback. Let's have a psychological safety environment where people are open to share, comment, or give feedback as to what could have been done better, or can we do it better. So these are the key principles when you look at driving effective end-to-end change management. So here we are looking at what are the major success criteria and what are the challenges which we normally face when it comes to change. Let's look at the success factors. As I said, you need to have the senior leadership buy-in, strong executive sponsorship. If that is not in place, then you will have n number of, if you do not have this strong sponsorship, you are sure all set to fail, because you need to have the leaders buy-in. Change or anything, like it is always top down. Comprehensive communication strategy. All throughout the journey of the change, you need to have a solid communication strategy. So communication might be town halls. You start off with this town halls informing that what the change is about. After town halls, you'll have like posters posted everywhere so that everybody is well aware about the change. It's not a one-time communication. It's a constant journey, and you need to have there is no one method to communicate. It should be communicated by leaders in whatever meetings. This change should be cascaded. So for that, you need to have a effective, comprehensive strategy. A strategy which clearly defines how are we going to communicate, who are the stakeholders, then what is the mode with which we communicate. It should be a detailed update. Dedicated change management team. You will not be able to drive change managing partially. Okay. For that, you need to have a solid, dedicated change management team. It depends. If the change is it's not that big impacting, maybe the existing managers, or you can find champions within the team to drive the change. But if it's going to be a big bang, especially in the GCCs, you need to have a solid change management team. When I say you have a dedicated change management team, it's not just project managers. People should have that capability to drive change. How can we cascade what's in it for each one of them? How can you positively drive it? How you are open for feedback? How can everyone reach out to you and share their? Next is like face an incremental approach. You don't go big bang because the risk is like for sure will be huge. So it's good to take a phased and incremental approach or do a pilot and then you can go for a big. Employee engagement and enablement. And during the phase of change, you are going to shake the organization. That means your employees are like, there is so much confusion, stress, ambiguities. And this is where we need to have like a solid engagement plan and like develop the psychological safety in the organization so that everybody is able to open up, speak freely, get their doubts clarified, and drive positive change. What are the areas where we are all set to fail? If we do not have a clear vision and a strategy, if you are not able to explain as to why we are driving the change, it sure is going to be a failure. And as I said, insufficient change management capabilities. It is not someone who's been doing in the operations, hey, come on, lead a change tomorrow, starting tomorrow. No, that needs solid capabilities in identifying who are my stakeholders, a detailed, solid plan. Then you need to have a comprehensive like roadmap, milestones, then comprehensive communication plan. There is so much to it. It's not just tick the box. Change management capabilities are the key to a success. Resistance to change. I'm sure every organization would face this initially. How are we going to tackle the resistance? Will we be able to identify who are the teams who are going to resist? What's in it for them? Can we have do we have the capability to manage the resistance? And are we looking at an unrealistic timeline? If we say an ERP rollout, it sure is going to take 1 year, and we say, hey, no, 1 year doesn't make sense. Let's do it within 1 month. How is it possible? You're all set to fail. You need to have a realistic time study and put a plan based on that. Inadequate communication and stakeholder engagement. We might sometimes think, yes, I've communicated, but everybody would have a gap. Like, what's happening? When we speak about adequate communication, it's constant update of the status quo. It might be through posters, it might be through mails, it might be through meetings. It's constant communication and engaging the stakeholders about the change. Failure to address cultural barriers. There are certain changes where we have like due to cultural, maybe it's cross-cultural sensitivity, or it might be within a region. We need to understand the nuances of the cultural barriers. And once you identify all this, then you're all set you have like a clear risk mitigation plan for this. You're all set to succeed. When we look at when we drive change in a structured manner, this is what will happen. This is just a slide to share. What are the benefits which we'll reap? Okay, over a matter of time, you'll build a strong organizational culture. Stakeholder management for sure, because everybody's kept posted. When we speak about constantly about the what is the culture which we want to develop, and we are constantly speaking about the change, you have like better stakeholder management. Everybody is going to own the change. It's not just the leaders. Everybody in the organization is going to own it and be accountable for the change. Once once you start measuring the progress, you celebrate the success in the journey. You have happy employees. Once you have explained what's in it for them, as and when time goes and when they see, it's for sure going to improve the employee engagement in the organization. Harmonized processes for sure. Copy pasting, like you don't copy paste. You look into the end-to-end harmonization. And these are the benefits of driving change in a very structured manner. That's it from my side. Any questions? I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, ma'am, for the lovely presentation. But, ma'am, we barely have 7 minutes. If you can cover in 6 minutes, scholars. I'm sharing ma'am's LinkedIn ID. If she's not able to answer you in the given time, you can connect with her on LinkedIn. Yes, ma'am. Whoever you wish to help
Yeah,
her.
anyone can.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your very insightful presentation today. My name is David Gashoki. I have been involved in change management for many years, well over 20 years. And part of the challenges we have faced in driving change are to do with having a complete buy-in by everybody who gets involved and all that. And also having the urgency. At times, some of the changes that are required are a bit urgent for the very survival of the organization. I want to ask you, from what your experiences and all that, how would one best create urgency within the organization so that the change that is required can be driven pretty fast? That's the first one. The second one and last, I want to ask, in many of the situations where I have been involved in driving change, we always keep insisting on having a physical thing within the organization that represents the change that we've come to drive. Some of it we've done is even the way people see it. If they are facing east, you just, for the sake of change the desk's direction to be west. What would you advise about, on some of these approaches, especially so that they can be a symbolic thing remaining in the change process? Thank you.
One is, if you said like the first question is like, how can you drive fast change? Make it part of their goals and objectives. Everybody has a goal setting in the organization. If that is a bigger change where you want to make it roll out fast, add it part of their goal setting. It can be short-term goals or it can be long-term goals. Make it for that. Second is, you were speaking about the office direction. Unless otherwise you tell them what's in it for them, no one is going to change. Why are we doing this? When you said like from east to west, what is the purpose behind? And does it align to the big picture? And what is the purpose behind it? That's something which we clearly need to define. And it should be top down. The leader should own the change and drive the change. It's as simple as that. Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, you did, ma'am. I had only wanted you to comment on the last one where, as we go through the change process that we are doing, having defined, done the objectives and all that, the need for having a physical thing that represents that exactly we are changing. And that's where at times we bring in the idea of part of that is changing even the way people see it, not necessarily that, but just one thing that remains in them, that there's a change happening in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Vincent.
Can I talk? Good afternoon.
I think she'll
Good
ask
day.
Vinci sir to speak, Alice ma'am. Please let the speaker decide. I request you. Ma'am, we barely have 4 minutes. Others can, I have put your LinkedIn ID, ma'am. They can connect to you on LinkedIn and
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Yes.
Vincent sir, please take over. She's asked you to unmute.
Good evening. Thank you very much indeed for this very interesting presentation. My question is related to the GCC region. I would be interested to know what were the main hurdle or the main cultural challenges you met during the implementation in the GCC.
Actually, we moved from a shared services to a GCC. Okay, so Global Capability Center. So that means previously we were managing the processes in silos. So it was P2P, it was like vendor invoice management, supplier master data, all managed in silos. When you move to a GCC, it is like driving end-to-end processes, driving harmonization. So you bring in one leader on top of all the processes. There will be a P2P manager, O2C manager, or like O2C head. So there were no more silos. So you bring everything towards it. So like that's where the challenge was. What will happen to me? I had been managing P2P independently so far. Now above me, like I have an end-to-end process manager. Will I be able to develop to that? So these are the areas where we had challenges. People felt that they lost their control over their teams. End of the day, they didn't know they were merging into a much bigger organization globally. So these are the intricacies, and it's more about like coaching, mentoring, and talking to them and explaining to them. And end of the day, you see people evolving to the, instead of like knowing one portion of the end to end, they had much more visibility. They knew what will be the impact of the process which they are doing. That was very clearly defined, and that added more value. It cut off redundancies, cut off duplicate work, and it was much more streamlined.
Thank you, Vijay ma'am. Vijay ma'am, I
Thank you,
think
sir.
others can connect to you on LinkedIn, please. We barely
Sure.
have a minute. I have to end the session in time. Sorry, scholars, you can get in touch with ma'am on LinkedIn. I've shared her LinkedIn address in the chat. So thank you, Vijay ma'am,
Thank you.
for this beautiful and inspiring session. And it was truly a privilege to learn from your rich experience and leadership journey. Thank you. Thanks
Thank you,
a
ma'am.
lot.
Thank you so
Ma'am,
much.
thank
Thank you,
very much.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Vishi,
everybody.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Good
We
night.
appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good night. Good night, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vijay ma'am, hope you're okay if they connect with you on LinkedIn. I think Vijay ma'am is left. You can connect with Vijay ma'am on LinkedIn, not a problem. Alice ma'am, please connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, but because of the time constraints, we have to wind up in time. Scholars, even I'll leave. See you all tomorrow for my session. We continue with how to select your topic. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. 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 À bientôt, à bientôt.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Je suis là-bas. Thank you, doc. Mon ami
Thank
là-bas.
you, Doc.
I'll leave now. Let me leave.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.